Now, the first thing you need to know about Supersaws is nobody makes their own Supersaws. And the second thing you know is those crazy big lush patches are created by layering. So if you pop in your plugins for free search bar and search Supersaws, look at this. Look at all these free Supersaw synths with presets for you. So Supersaws have always been presets. So even if you think 2000s trance, all those trance presets came out of the Roland JP8000, like those people weren't designing their own sounds. However, it's now 2024 and people have been making their own sounds for a while. So I'm going to start with just a saw and I'll give you a before and after. Now, the first step in designing your Supersaws is music theory first. You're not going to be able to create chord-oriented massive patches if you're practicing on a single saw. So none of this, lots of this. So I've got a big chord progression in here, and even the voicing of your chords is part of the sound design. All of these notes are far apart. It's not 1, 3, 5. This is how you're used to writing the chord, and I just instrumented it however I instrumented it. The other thing is you hide melodies in your chords. So somewhere in this chord, there was a... This bass line doesn't follow the roots of the chords, it follows the melody that I picked out in the middle. Pretty cool. So yeah, music theory first. Look up some chords, write some chords, set yourself up for success. So the first thing you need to know about Supersaws is your two tools essentially are stereo effects and distortion. So for stereo, you have unison, hyperdimension, and chorus, and a bit of reverb, phaser flanger. For distortion, there is a distortion unit inside the compressor. There's a distortion unit in the distortion unit. You have your filter distortion, which changes when you redline the filter, and you have your serum distortion, which changes when you redline serum. Essentially, distortion changes the function of chorus. So chorus unison on its own, what it does is it makes it big and wide. It detunes each voice so you can hear a bunch of little boys in the choir with slightly different voices. And what distortion does is it keeps the many quality, but it just degrades the width. You're going to see a repeating pattern of introducing width, flattening it with distortion, and introducing width again. Here we have the patch. And if you listen to just the saw patch, it already sounds like a Supersaw, and I haven't even done anything. So the first thing you're going to do is add a bit of detune. Unison adds detune, but also stereo. And the original, like the Roland keyboards, the Yamahas, they didn't have proper unison. They just had 2 wave oscillators, and they would detune them like this. You can detune them manually, which is my favorite, but you can also bump the unison up and go into your global setting and pull the width down. Now, this sounds different. Like mono detune sounds different than having 2 oscillators. It's quieter. So let's listen to this. This is just manual detune. I like this better. Now, you don't have to use a saw. I like using a square on the bottom. And another way of adding detune is having it an octave up. So step 1, detune. You have 3 or 4 ways to do it. So I think I'm going to go for this pulse square and this way. And then it's usually customary to put something an octave up. I'm going to use normal unison, and this octave up is going to be wider. Isn't that amazing already? Now let's go to this noise oscillator. Part of that analog sound is they introduce a bit of noise. These analog noises are sampled from various keyboards. And even look, like you have this, I think this is a Roland keyboard, you have a noise with chorus on it. Like how cool is that? Like you can make the mono wave here and chorus just the sound. And I'm gonna tune the chorus. And then here's the sauce. Take back that notch filter, put it on everything. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna modulate the cutoff with the noise. So mod source, noise oscillator, and then I'm gonna just change how it responds a bit. Now onto the effects. So I'm gonna pull this off for now. And like I said, so I like the manual detune, and I like adding the stereo with hyperdimension. It just gives it this really nice analog sound. And it sounds good, but even though I made it kind of wide, I'd like to flatten it again because you want it to be both wide and expressive and also central in your face, so distortion. So I'm going to use this to try and generate some nice analog central noise, and then I'm dialing it back. Oh, listen to that. Yeah, so this kind of brought it back into the center. Flanger. Flanger's a stereo effect. Essentially, it speeds up and slows down the left side from the right, which causes comb filtering. And that's a common theme, right? Like you're detuning one side from the other, you're filtering one side. And the Serum flanger, it sounds amazing behind distortion. Like. And then the phaser, this makes the left side different from the other. And like I said, it's a bit too much, it's a bit too phasery, but you put it behind the distortion. Oh my God. And of course the chorus, I love the Serum chorus. Now we're gonna use the delay, and we're gonna find a tone we really like. And then the last step, we have a filter here. And what you can do is if you look in these flanges, you get comb filtering, flange filtering, and you can add even more tone. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a pseudo phaser. And I'm gonna play with the pan. And down there, I'm just gonna add this top layer back. For post-processing supersaws, I do have one secret trick that no one else talks about, and that's the exciter. So La Petite Excite, this is the first exciter I ever owned. It's free. Fresh Air is also free, but essentially what an exciter is it's parallel distortion geared towards vocals. Essentially, it brings the highs out of your vocals like nothing else. It's better than an EQ, and it just makes it sound like it's done. So let's just listen to it. After. And then, of course, some sexy reverb. So these reverbs here, these are actually all the Valhalla reverbs, right? I just grabbed a couple of the reverb presets from Valhalla Supermassive, also free, and let's just play around with them. But the last step before layering, hiding chords in the reverb. So you've probably heard of Valhalla Shimmer, and that's what it does, is it runs in parallel a pitched up signal of your audio through the reverb. So I'm just gonna make a reverb, and then my advice is use a stock OTT reverb. So just all the way OTT.